Fightful MMA is coming at you with a UFC 254 post-fight recap. Full main card coverage.
Khabib made weight. Or did he?
Khabib retired. Or did he?
Plus, is Whittaker Adesanya gonna be the middleweight trilogy that no one's seen coming?
And Khamzat Chimaev is back, booked to fight, and you're never gonna believe how the booking went down.
UFC 254 went down Saturday, October 24th at 2 p.m. on Fight Island.
The main card kicked off with the long-awaited rematch between Magomed Ankalaev and Ion Cutilaba. This fight was almost as cursed as the Khabib-Tony booking. The first fight was stopped early.
Way too early.
Way early.
Terrible stoppage.
They tried to rebook it 2 or 3 times, and the fights were scrapped due to injury,
illness,
whatever, and it finally came together at UFC 254.
So how did this story end? Well, Ankalaev knocked out Cutilaba at the end of the first round, dropped him, knocked him out, head bounces off the canvas, Cutilaba's, wakes back up, and then gets knocked out again, and then the ref finally comes in and stops it.
Yeah, the ref let Cutilaba eat a couple shots after I thought he was already out, just so there'd be no controversy. To finally put a stamp on this, it's over. He was out.
And Ankalaev got a nice little performance of the night bonus for that. So impressive performance. It was nice to see the little chapter end for him onto his next opponent. Hopefully he starches him too. Next on the card, we got to see a spectacular rear naked choke finish from Lauren Murphy on her short notice opponent, Liliya Shakirova.
Yeah, Murphy was initially supposed to fight Cynthia Calvillo. That fight fell through, as a lot of fights have been lately, and the UFC pulled Liliya Shakirova to replace her, and Murphy said, good, let's go. She didn't care who the opponent was. She got the job done in the second round via rear naked choke.
Yeah, expert choke. It wasn't as compelling to see her beat someone that was kind of pulled at the last minute. I much would have rather have seen a nice, spectacular rear naked choke finish on Calvillo. That would definitely have more title implications. She still wanted a title shot nonetheless. With that performance, does it earn one? 4 in a row wins for her? I don't know. Hopefully.
It could. I mean, it always amazes me that fighters are chomping at the bit to fight Shevchenko. But hey, she's the champ. You gotta go after her.
Yeah, so, who wants to fight her in that division?
Definitely not Paige VanZant.
Well, she's not even in the division anymore.
Paige VanZant fled the UFC to go fight bare-knuckle boxing because she was scared to fight Shevchenko.
I think I would do the same thing.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Maybe me too.
All right, on to the next one.
The third fight on the main card was a middleweight contest between Jacob Malkoun and Phil Hawes.
Wow, I was really surprised to see these two fighters this high up on such a prominent pay-per-view card, but I believe Dana White knows what he's doing with these things. If it even is up to him, he knew that Hawes was a straight killer, and he got the job done in 18 seconds?
18-second knockout. Yeah, I think the matchup speaks to the stock that Dana White puts in his Tuesday Night Contender Series fighters. And look, if you tailor-made a match for Hawes to shine in, this was it. You've got Malkoun coming in with 4 fights worth of experience in a big pay-per-view card, and Hawes seized the moment by knocking his opponent out spectacularly, sub-20-second finish. Now people are talking about it.
And what was most concerning to me is Malkoun is a training partner of Robert Whittaker, and Whittaker fighting co-main event, fighting a few fights in, had to witness this 18-second knockout. It got me super nervous going in for that co-main event for Whittaker. Would that affect his performance? But, we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
How that ended up. But really devastating knockout. He was out for a while. It seemed like he didn't really have his bearings. It seemed like he was carried out of the octagon.
He was helped out of the octagon. He didn't know where he was at after that knockout. They took him out. Hope he's all right. But amazing performance for Hawes.
Oh my gosh, spectacular. Dana White loves his contenders. He loves the fact that he finds these people and he brings them up through the UFC. So there is nothing but hype behind this guy. I'm sure that he'll be prominent in a pay-per-view or a fight night again very soon.
So Hawes' knockout took us over to our fourth fight on the main card, a heavyweight contest between Alexander Volkov and Walt the Big Ticket Harris. And Volkov punched his ticket with a deadly front kick to Harris's midsection halfway through round 2 to start the finish off. That was a beautiful front snap at the end. He pointed the toes, and you just saw Harris instantly double over, exclaim. He was selling that kick for all it was worth. He couldn't hide the pain he was in.
Yeah, and I couldn't imagine any human being able to take a kick like that from Volkov. His legs are legit tree trunks. Could you imagine that stabbing at you like that? Right in the rib cage. Oh my gosh. It dropped him immediately. I can't imagine, like I said, I can't imagine anyone who could take that shot.
No, and Harris hunched over. The kick was also on the right side of his body, where the liver is located. His body just shut down. Volkov rushes in, some punches to finish the fight, and the ref, I forget this guy's name, he was screaming, "Don't stop," to Volkov, which I don't think Volkov had any intention of stopping. But I'm watching the pay-per-view and I'm saying, is he calling that a low blow? This is insane.
Yeah, I think the commentators even got a little confused.
Yeah. Nonetheless, Volkov did the right thing, swarmed him, and got a big TKO win to propel him forward in the heavyweight division.
Yeah, he's kind of what I would say is flying under the radar, which is weird because he's so tall, but he's super dangerous, and he definitely reminded us why.
Exactly.
All right, on to the co-main event of the evening, and man, they put on a crazy fight. It was so back and forth. I was on the edge of my seat. It was mostly in favor of Whittaker. Let's be honest, he got the unanimous decision victory, but man, Cannonier, even with the injuries that he had, which we'll get into, he still proved to be extremely dangerous, even at the end of the third round when he is like almost knocked out.
Look, the battle of the nicknames, which I'm always a big fan of, you've got Robert the Reaper Whittaker versus Jared the Killer Gorilla Cannonier. I think Cannonier wins the nickname fight.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what, though? I think if you ask both fighters if they'd rather have won the fight or the nickname fight, they'd say the fight. Yeah. So it turned out in favor of Whittaker. This fight was like a lot of Whittaker fights. It was a close, gritty battle, a lot of attrition thrown to both fighters. In the end, I think Whittaker, he's just a technically more proficient fighter, and he's tough as nails.
Yeah, and one thing that I don't really know if I've heard that many people go outright and say it, I think he is one of the fastest, speed and power together, combined, of anyone in the middleweight division. Adesanya, I would say, is up there too, but who's faster than him? He ran circles around Cannonier with his combinations. He
threw out a beautiful lead jab that busted up Cannonier's orbital bone, and after the fight, we find out Cannonier says his arm was broken after the first Whittaker kick that he blocked. So Cannonier fought this whole fight with a broken arm. Now that might explain his kick-heavy attack, but man, talk about not selling. I had no idea during the fight that he was hurt.
Yeah, he is such an interesting fighter because he came in the middleweight division on fire, but kind of low-key. Everyone was like, who's this guy? Who's Cannonier? Because we're used to seeing him at heavyweight, and he looked completely different physically. And he comes in and he just lights everyone up. And everyone really was thinking that Cannonier was going to take this. But I knew in my heart that Whittaker had this. But man, he puts me on the edge of my seat every time he fights because he's always given really, really tough opponents. And he always has to grit out those wins and nearly puts these guys away. But man, middleweights are tough.
The middleweight division right now, I think outside of lightweight, is one of the most exciting divisions in the UFC. I also just want to jump in and say I think Jared Cannonier is an absolute lunatic. The man is crazy. He wants to go to the sun and to different universes after he defends his title 16 times. He's got the crystals. I think it's working for him, but what an interesting guy.
Yeah. I could see him being in movies. Definitely. He has such like a great look for that, like action movies and stuff like that. I think he could do a career in that if he doesn't want to travel to the sun. So what I was alluding to before in the intro is that there could potentially now be an Adesanya-Whittaker trilogy. Now, let me back it up for a minute. Whittaker just beat Cannonier. This was basically a title contender fight. Whittaker won. So now it's a Whittaker Adesanya rematch. Now, at this point in Whittaker's career, I think he has the stuff to come back and right his wrong. Get that win against Adesanya. Take his undefeated streak away from him. Could you imagine? Then they have a trilogy to settle the score. This would be insane. I kind of hope it happens. Fingers crossed. Kind of. I definitely hope it happens.
If he beats Izzy, you have to give Izzy a rematch. It's tailor-made for a trilogy.
Yeah. And I know Whittaker is not much of a shit talker. He's just a nice guy who says, line him up, I'm not gonna knock him out.
There's no way not to like him. And Izzy could do all the publicity for the fight, so it would work out.
Yeah, I'm sure Izzy will create some beef, and then they can just, hash it out.
There you go.
Make it compelling. But it's compelling enough for me just based on their skill sets alone and the fact that this could be a middleweight trilogy classic that will go down in history. So that's why I'm behind it.
Look, I think Izzy should fight Whittaker again. I think they should rematch immediately. The problem with that is Izzy's involved in this beef with John Jones, but Jones is moving to heavyweight, right? Allegedly. Let's hope Jones goes up to heavyweight. Izzy stays at middle, and him and Robert Whittaker have a rematch for the middleweight title. And finally, it was time for the main event of the evening. Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov versus Justin the Highlight Gaethje for the lightweight championship of the world. Everything about this fight was surprising. Yeah. But before we get into it, we got to talk about a little controversy on the scales.
Yeah, it got weird right from the jump because Khabib went to weigh in, towel in tow, and it was very reminiscent of another weigh-in that involved a towel with another ATT team member.
Daniel Cormier
and his heavyweight. Light heavyweight.
The 206.2 pound champion of the world.
Yeah, so we're talking about the infamous Towelgate, and where Daniel Cormier went to go weigh in for his 205-pound title fight, and he held the towel after missing weight initially by 2.7.
It was 1.2 pounds because he's got to be
1.2 pounds.
Yeah.
He goes to weigh in holding the towel, and miraculously, what was it, 20 minutes later?
It was 3 minutes later.
3 minutes later.
Pound and a half.
Yeah, he weighed in at 205. So we're referencing that. So Khabib is teammates with DC, and I feel like from the very get-go, he weighs in with the towel.
So Khabib was the first fighter to weigh in out of all the fighters on this card. As he's walking to the scale, he calls for the towel already. He looks like he's still sweating a little bit, and they get the towel ready. Khabib steps up to the scale, briefly rests his hands for support. There was no problem here on the guys holding the towel, and he's on the scale looking real nervous. Real nervous. The guy working the scale looks, clicks a little thing. The bar starts raising before the bar could even level out. He's like, bam, back to zero. 155, you're in, good. And Khabib's like, oh. He is very happy that he weighed in at 155.
Yeah, now, I find this a little controversial because, come on.
That's not, they never reset to zero that fast. They never call the weight out that fast.
But if you think about how much money is on the line for this, now didn't Khabib make a pretty penny from this fight?
Khabib made $10 million, Gaethje made $3 million. The entire event turned on their title fight. There was no way that Khabib was not going to weigh in at 155 for this fight, no matter what happened. I'm not saying he didn't weigh 155, I'm just saying even if he didn't, he was going to weigh 155 for this fight.
Yeah. So.
I don't even think Gaethje would have been mad about it, because Gaethje, pre-fight, was saying, once I step into the octagon, I've just secured my mother's retirement. So Gaethje I think he would have been happy if allegedly maybe Khabib didn't make weight, but he actually made weight, which is not what I'm saying. It just could have maybe happened. I don't know.
Look into it.
Should look into it, bro.
All right, well, weight controversy aside, let's talk about another odd thing that we found out in the post-fight press conference is that Dana White said that Khabib went into this fight with 2 broken toes and a broken bone in his foot.
Yeah, you could see 2 of Khabib's toes were taped, very lightly taped going in. That was the only indication anything was going on with the foot the entire fight. But apparently, 3 weeks before the fight, Khabib broke 2 toes and a bone in his foot. 3 weeks out. Now, could that have made it hard for him to cut weight? Possibly, but also, that hurts. That's got to affect your whole training, the end of your fight camp, and the fight itself. And Khabib gave no indication that anything was wrong with him in that cage. The man is an animal.
Yeah, I mean, I broke one of my toes. Broke a few of my toes, but the last time I broke my toe, I couldn't train. I don't even understand how he does it. He's one of the toughest men alive.
Yeah, I think it would be hard to contradict that statement.
Yeah, and toughness and grit and his fighting style is just how he got the utter, total, dominating win over Justin Gaethje.
It was, for me, a shocking fight. Yeah. In our pre-fight video, I had said, I don't think Gaethje's going to tap. I think he's going to break or go out before he taps. And I also said I thought he was going to make it to the final bell, so what do I know?
But man, he did technically go out, but that was a little, knock on Jason Herzog there.
Jason Herzog was just in such disbelief that Gaethje was tapping that his brain refused to receive the signals that his eyes were sending to him. And Gaethje went out. And I bet Gaethje is not unhappy about that either. Because I bet Gaethje would have liked to gone out on his shield without tapping. So I think Herzog did Justin Gaethje a favor by totally disregarding the many times he tapped.
Yeah, now let's backtrack just a little bit. How did we get to this submission finish? And not only submission finish, a triangle choke from Khabib.
Yeah, which is not the way I would have thought Khabib would finish this fight.
Yeah.
I see him as more of an RNC guy, but the first round, Khabib comes out on fire. Forward pressure, giving Gaethje no space to set up, no time to settle into a rhythm, and totally screwing up Gaethje's head. Khabib outstruck Gaethje in the first round.
Remarkable.
He had Gaethje running around the octagon, confused. Gaethje was literally just setting up for one shot. He was throwing good leg kicks. He hit Khabib with a bunch of leg kicks.
Yeah.
But he wasn't able to get any combinations off.
Oh, it was breaking my heart because he couldn't get the rhythm that he normally gets. And you could just see the frustration. And I feel like a lot of Khabib's opponents, you see that frustration in their eyes. He said post-fight, man, he's strong. It's because Khabib was able to take him down and hold him down, get mount so easily on him because of the way he can grapple. He feels like he's a ton of bricks.
Yeah, and the threat of Khabib's grappling, I think, was what really made Gaethje look like he took 3 or 4 steps back in his striking level this whole fight. I think he was so, I don't want to use the word afraid, I think he was so conscious of the danger of being taken down that it totally ruined his striking game. And he did get taken down. He got taken down twice, and he got kept down both times.
Yeah, once in the first round where Khabib saw a very telling sign that he was able to take mount on Gaethje so easily. So he did it again in the second round, went right to mount, and he saw the opening. He had the head and arm isolated, and he's like, let's show everyone how I could finish a sub off my back.
And Khabib, like I said, I don't really see him as a triangle guy, but you know, guys with shorter limbs, when they do hook that triangle up, it's a vice. I mean, the pressure is so heavy, you feel like your head's gonna pop off.
Yeah, and he's just, he knows how to strangle people in every which way, and he just proved that. And it's so funny because I was talking to a couple of the people that I train with the day up or the day before the fights, and they were like wondering, like, I wonder what his jiu-jitsu's like we don't really see like jujitsu, like him working off his back. And I was like, yo, he's got a mean triangle. And I was telling them that.
Oh.
And, what do you know? He hit a triangle. So maybe we didn't predict anything in the pre-fight video, but my training partners know.
All right.
But I called that triangle. I didn't call it, but I just said he has a good triangle. So yeah, everyone got to see it. So that was great.
I was also surprised at the willingness of Justin Gaethje to accept bottom position. Yeah. Pre-fight, he was saying, I can't let him hold me down. I can't let him get me to the cage and hold me down, because if one man can hold me down, another can violate me. It was a ridiculous interview. But I'm thinking Gaethje's going to go in there. Yeah. I'm thinking Gaethje's going to go in there and scramble. He's going to get taken down. He's going to get on a hip. Yeah. He's going to buck.
That's what I thought.
And he didn't. He just got really still. And at the end of that first, he was in armbar position. He was just really still about it. In the second, full mount, Khabib had the S-mount. Gaethje is still. So either Khabib weighs 3,000 pounds on top of you, or Gaethje's brain was just not working this whole fight.
Yeah, or Khabib just implemented the game plan to a T and just completely shut down Gaethje's game before he could even get it started.
It might have been that, because that's exactly what Khabib did.
Yeah. And also, can we talk about jiu-jitsu for a second? Can somebody please give him his blue belt? I feel like the last photo I seen of him, he had 4 stripes on a white belt.
That was tied all weird too, just like 3 knots in the belt.
What is this? Side. Yeah, that's not fair.
That'd be cool. Get Khabib his blue belt. He could be another of the blue belt MMA monsters we're always talking about.
Yeah, maybe we should do a video on that. Thumbs up if you want to see that. Now, speaking of exciting things to see in the future, we had some big news come in from the post-fight press conference about Fight Island's darling,
Khamzat Chimaev. I've been working on the pronunciation. Let me know if I got that right. Somebody tell me. But he's booked to fight. Who's he fighting? You know, they were talking, we need to get him someone in the top 10. We need to get him a credible opponent. People on the internet who aren't on the hype train, they're like, yeah, he hasn't fought anybody ranked. You don't know if he's good. He winds up getting booked to fight Leon Rocky Edwards. Yo, the guy is ranked number 3 at welterweight. Chimaev is the most avoided fighter, second to, I can't think of anybody, but he's avoided. How does the number 3 welterweight decide to take a fight with an unranked welter/middleweight who is a destroyer and who is the least favorable matchup for a ranked opponent that you could make? We're going to tell you how that fight came to fruition in our next video. Khamzat Chimaev and why UFC rankings don't mean, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, regardless of how or who or why they made this fight, I'm really excited to see it. And Leon Edwards gets to headline a card.
Yeah,
because I feel like this is going to headline a card.
He gets to headline a card in a fight that does nothing for him if he wins and takes everything from him if he loses.
Gotta have the upside, though. He gets to headline a card.
It shows you go against what the UFC brass want, you're going to get stepped on. Yeah. And he's getting stepped on. All right, we can't end the video without talking about
what happened at the end of the card with Khabib taking off those gloves.
The most significant thing to come out of the card, Khabib beats Gaethje, he's 29-0, and already the wheels are turning. Everybody's going, it's GSP, it's GSP. Khabib GSP for his 30th fight, and Khabib says, I'm retired. He said...
Laid the gloves down, took them off. He was sobbing.
It
was an emotional moment. I mean, rightfully so.
Once he got that win, he went to the center of the octagon, knelt down, and you could see this wasn't some fake emotion. He was sobbing.
No, at the loss of his father. We all know he lost his father this year.
He was incredibly close with his father.
Incredibly important to his fights. He was there in his corner pretty much every time.
Yeah, and when he couldn't make it because of the visa issues, Javier Mendez stepped in as a father figure. Khabib's father was one of the stalwart entities in his life that he anchored himself to, that kept him going forward. And Khabib said he spoke with his mother, he said, for 3 days. And she said she did not want him to fight anymore without his father on this earth. And Khabib said he promised his mother that he would not fight anymore.
And Dana White believes that he is a man who will keep his promise if his mother asked him not to fight. So Dana White believes that this is it for him. And I believe Khabib thinks this is it for him. But there's a little controversy from someone who's very close to him who doesn't really think that.
Ali Abdelaziz tweets, "There are no vacant titles here."
What does that mean? A little cryptic. Does that mean he doesn't think Khabib's retiring? What do you think?
Is he going to try to pressure Khabib into fighting for 30-0, which was Khabib's father's plan from the get-go?
Oh my gosh, to end 30-0, beating GSP. I mean, this would be like the best case scenario for him. And the amount of money that would just be thrown at everyone. But at this point, Khabib made a nice paycheck from this. He has no incentive to fight anymore.
He has no monetary incentive.
Yeah, monetarily.
And he has an incentive not to fight. This promise to his mother to not fight anymore.
Yeah, family is very important to him. I mean, as you can see, his father was so important to him as well. So I think he's going to stick to it. I don't think he's going to fight anymore.
I don't think he's going to stick to the retirement. I think he thinks he's retired, but I think we're going to see Khabib versus GSP because I think GSP wants that fight, and I think after a little while, once the dust settles, I think Khabib wants that fight too. So,
hey, we all want that fight, do we not?
Everybody, I want it.
Let us know in the comments if you want to see that fight because I think that would be one of the greatest fights ever.
It would have to be.
Yeah, even though GSP, he's a little bit older now, but he doesn't have the miles on him as someone else his age because he took so many years off from fighting.
Yep.
So there's that.
All right, guys. So this is gonna be it for us. One thing we're gonna do, we're gonna shout out our best comment from our last video from Salban Ahmed, talking about Gaethje versus Khabib.
Yes, thank you for your comment. If you want to get shouted out, leave us a comment below, and we may or may not, but
shout you out in our next video.
Yeah, in our next video.
All right, guys. Fight Fuel MMA signing out until next time when we put out our Khamzat Chimaev, King of Fight Island, how did he get to fight Leon Edwards video. Look out for it.
Yeah, and something in the pipelines, top starches in UFC. We're going to get that out to you soon.
Yeah.
And thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and we will see you in our next one.